Namaste, Dhanavad Pranam. By the instruction and grace of our spiritual master, Om Vishnu Pad Paramahamsa Shripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj, we are here reading Srimad Bhagavatam and honoring Sri Baladev Purnima. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Text, Canto 2, the Cosmic Manifestation, Chapter 4, Text 21. Yadhangri abhidhyana samadhi dhautaya dhyanu pasyanti hi tattvam atmana vadanti chaitat kavayo yatharucham same mukundo bhagavan prasiddhatim same mukundo bhagavan prasiddhatam. It is the personality of Godhead of Sri Krishna who gives liberation. By thinking of his lotus feet at every second, following in the footsteps of authorities, the devotee in trance can see the absolute truth. The learned mental speculators, however, think of him according to their whims. May the Lord be pleased with me. Purport. The mystic yogis, after a strenuous effort to control the senses, may be situated in a trance of yoga just to have a vision of the supersoul within everyone. But the pure devotee, simply by remembering the Lord's lotus feet at every second, at once becomes established in real trance, because by such realization his mind and intelligence are completely cleansed of the diseases of material enjoyment. The pure devotee thinks himself fallen into the ocean of birth and death and incessantly prays to the Lord to lift him up. He only aspires to become a speck of transcendental dust at the lotus feet of the Lord. The pure devotee, by the grace of the Lord, absolutely loses all attraction for material enjoyment. And to keep free from contamination, he always thinks of the lotus feet of the Lord. King Kulasekara, a great devotee of the Lord, prayed, Krishna tvadiya pada pankajya panjarantam adhyaiva me vishatu manasa raja hamsa pranaprayana samaye kafa vata patai kantavaradhona vidho smaranam kutaste. By Lord Krishna, I pray that the swan of my mind may immediately sink down to the stems of the lotus feet of your lordship and be locked in their network. Otherwise, at the time of my final breath, when my throat is choked up with cough, how will it be possible to think of you? There is an intimate relationship between the swan and the lotus stem, so the comparison is very appropriate. Without becoming a swan or paramahamsa, one cannot enter into the network of the lotus feet of the Lord. As stated in Brahma Samhita, the mental speculators, even by dint of learned scholarship, cannot even dream of the absolute truth by speculating over it for eternity. The Lord reserves the right of not being exposed to such mental speculators. And because they cannot enter into the network stem of the lotus feet of the Lord, all mental speculators differ in conclusions, and at the end they make a useless compromise by saying, as many conclusions as many ways, according to one's own inclination. Yatha rucham. But the Lord is not like a shopkeeper trying to please all sorts of customers in the mental speculator exchange. The Lord is what he is, the absolute personality of Godhead, and he demands absolute surrender unto him only. The pure devotee, however, by following the ways of previous acharyas or authorities, can see the Supreme Lord through the transparent medium of a bona fide spiritual master, anupasyanti. The pure devotee never tries to see the Lord by mental speculation, but by following in the footsteps of the acharyas. Mahajano yena gata sa pantaha. Therefore, there is no difference of conclusions amongst the Vaishnava acharyas regarding the Lord and the devotees. Lord Chaitanya asserts that the living entity, Jiva, is eternally the servitor of the Lord, and that he is simultaneously one with and different from the Lord. This tattva of Lord Chaitanya's is shared by all four sampradayas of the Vaishnava school, all accepting eternal servitude to the Lord even after salvation. And there is no authorized Vaishnava acharya who may think of the Lord and himself as one. This humbleness of the pure devotee who is 100% engaged in service puts the devotee of the Lord in trance by which to realize everything, because to the sincere devotee of the Lord reveals himself, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 10.10. The Lord, being the Lord of intelligence in everyone, even in the non-devotee, favors his devotee with proper intelligence so that automatically the pure devotee is enlightened with the factual truth about the Lord and his different energies. The Lord is revealed not by one's speculative power or by one's verbal jugglery over the absolute truth. Rather, he reveals himself to a devotee when he is fully satisfied by the devotee's service attitude. Shukadev Goswami is not a mental speculator or compromiser of the theory of as many ways as many conclusions. Rather, he prays to the Lord only, invoking his transcendental pleasure. That is the way of knowing the Lord. Text 22. Prachoditayena pura sarasvati Itanvatha satim smritim hridi Svalakshana pradur abut kilasyata Same rishinam rishabha prasidatam. May the Lord, who in the beginning of the creation, amplified by the potent knowledge of Brahma from within his heart, and inspired him with full knowledge of creation and of his own self, and who appeared to be generated from the mouth of Brahma, be pleased with me. Purport. As we have already discussed herein before, the Lord, as the supersoul of all living beings from Brahma to the insignificant ant, endows all with the required knowledge potent in every living being. A living being is sufficiently potent to possess knowledge from the Lord in the proportion of 50/64 or 78% of the full knowledge acquirable. Since the living being is constitutionally part and parcel of the Lord, he is unable to assimilate all the knowledge that the Lord possesses himself. In the conditioned state, the living being is subject to forgetting everything after a change of body, known as death. This potent knowledge is again inspired by the Lord from within the heart of every living being, and it is known as the awakening of knowledge, for it is comparable to awakening from sleep or unconsciousness. This awakening of knowledge is under full control of the Lord, and therefore we find in the practical world of different grades of knowledge in different persons. This awakening of knowledge is neither an automatic nor material interaction. The supply source is the Lord himself, the Yampati, or even Brahma is also subject to this regulation of the Supreme Creator. In the beginning of the creation, Brahma is born first without any father and mother, because before Brahma, there were no other living beings. Brahma is born from the lotus, which grows from the abdomen of Garbhodakshai Vishnu, and therefore he is known as Aja. This Brahma, or Aja, is also a living being, part and parcel of the Lord, but being the most pious devotee of the Lord, Brahma is inspired by the Lord to create, subsequent to the main creation by the Lord, through the agency of material nature. Therefore, neither the material nature nor Brahma is independent of the Lord. The material scientists can merely observe the reactions of the material nature without understanding the direction behind such activities. As a child can see the action of electricity without any knowledge of the powerhouse engineer, this imperfect knowledge of the material scientist is due to the poor fund of knowledge. The Vedic knowledge was therefore first impregnated within Brahma, and then it appears that Brahma distributed the Vedic knowledge. Brahma is undoubtedly the speaker of Vedic knowledge, but actually he was inspired by the Lord to receive such transcendental knowledge, as it directly descends from the Lord. The Vedas are therefore called Apurushaya, were not imparted by any created being. Before the creation, the Lord was there, Narayana Paro Vyaktat, and therefore the words spoken by the Lord are vibrations of transcendental sound. There is a gulf of difference between the two qualities of sound, namely Prakrita and Aprakrita. The physicist can deal only with the Prakrita sound, or sound vibrated in the material sky, and therefore we must know that the Vedic sounds recorded in the symbolic expressions cannot be understood by anyone within the universe unless and until one is inspired by the vibration of supernatural, aprakrita sound, which descends in the chain of disciplic succession from the Lord to Brahma, from Brahma to Narada, from Narada to Vyasa, and so on. No mundane scholar can translate or reveal the true import of the Vedic mantras or hymns. They cannot be understood unless one is inspired or initiated by the authorized spiritual master. The original spiritual master is the Lord himself, and the succession comes down through the sources of parampara, as clearly stated in the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So, unless one receives the transcendental knowledge from the authorized parampara, one should be considered useless, nisfala mata, even though one may be greatly qualified in the mundane advancements of arts or science. Sukadeva Goswami is praying to the Lord by dint of being inspired from within by the Lord, so that he could rightly explain the facts and figures of creation as inquired by Maharaj Parikshit. A spiritual master is not a theoretical speculator like mundane scholar, but is Shrotriyam Brahmanistam. Text 23. Bhutar Mahadibirya Ima Puro Vibor Nirmaya Setyad Amusu Purusha Bhumte Gunan Sodasa Sodasatmakaha Solang Krishista Bhagavan Vachamsi Me. May the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who enlivens the materially created bodies of the elements, be lying down within the universe, and who in his Purusha incarnation causes the living being to be subjected to the 16 divisions of material modes, which are his generator, be pleased to decorate my statements. Purport. As a fully dependent devotee, Shukadeva Goswami, unlike a mundane man who is proud of his own capability, invokes the pleasure of the personality of Godhead, so that his statements may be successful and may be appreciated by the hearers. The devotee always thinks of himself as instrumental for anything successfully carried out, and he declines to take credit for anything done by himself. The godless atheist wants to take all credit for activities, not knowing that even a blade of grass cannot move without the sanction of the Supreme Spirit. The personality of Godhead. Sukadeva Goswami, therefore, wants to move by the direction of the Supreme Lord, who inspired Brahma to speak the Vedic wisdom. The truths described in the Vedic literatures are not theories of mundane imagination, nor are they fictitious, as the less intelligent class of men sometimes think. The Vedic truths are all perfect descriptions of the factual truth without any mistake or illusion. And Sukadeva Goswami wants to present the truths of creation not as metaphysical theory or philosophical speculation, but as the actual facts and figures of the subject, since he would be dictated to by the Lord exactly in the same manner as Brahmaji was inspired. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita 15.15, the Lord is himself the father of the Vedanta knowledge, and it is he only who knows the factual purport of the Vedanta philosophy. So there is no greater truth than the principles of religion mentioned in the Vedas. Such Vedic knowledge or religion is disseminated by authorities like Shukadeva Goswami because he is a humble devotional servitor of the Lord who has no desire to become self-appointed interpreter without authority. That is the way of explaining the Vedic knowledge, technically known as parampara system or descending process. The intelligent man can see without mistake that any material creation, whether one's own body or a fruit or flower, cannot beautifully grow up without the spiritual touch. The greatest intelligent man of the world or the greatest man of science can present everything very beautifully only insofar as the spirit life is there, or insomuch as the spiritual touch is there. Therefore, the source of all truths is the supreme spirit and not gross matter, as wrongly conceived by the gross materialist. We get information from the Vedic literature that the Lord himself first encountered the vacuum of material universe, and thus all things gradually developed one after another. Similarly, the Lord is situated as localized Paramatma in every individual being, hence everything is done by him very beautifully. The 16 principal creative elements, namely earth, water, fire, air, sky, and the 11 sense organs, first developed from the Lord himself and were thereby shared by the living entities. Thus, the material elements were created for the enjoyment of the living entities. The beautiful arrangement behind all material manifestations is therefore made possible by the energy of the Lord, and the individual living entity can only pray to the Lord to understand it properly. Since the Lord is a supreme entity different from Shukadeva Goswami, the prayer can be offered to him. The Lord helps the living entity to enjoy material creation, but he is aloof from such false enjoyment. Shukadeva prays for the mercy of the Lord, not only for being helped personally in presenting the truth, but also for helping others to whom he would like to speak. Thus ends our reading for today. We'll continue from text 24 on Monday, hopefully. All glories to Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Shripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Shri Baladev Purnima Ki Jai. Jai Srila Prabhupada, Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Guru Dev, Srila Acharya Dev, Srila Shanta Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai. Jai Sri Navadvip Dham, Mayapur Dham, Nishringapali Dham Ki Jai. Jai Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Baladev, Subhadra, Jagannath Jew Ki Jai. Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Giri Govardhan, Gupta Govardhan Dham Ki Jai. Shyam Kund, Radha Kund Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi, Bhakti Devi, Vrinda Devi Ki Jai. Jai, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the worldwide devotees, Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai. Jai Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Nitai Gaura Pramanandi, Hari 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 Bo, Dhanavad Pranams.